Your love healing, I show you love. I thought that you believed in me, but I don't trust you. I don't trust you.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another video with me. I don't think I've actually ever told you this before. My name is actually Kaylee. So today I'm going to be doing a video, as you probably know from the title. It's about my teen pregnancy, how I told my mum. I'm also going to be doing my birth story. Do like the video and subscribe and turn your notification bell on, because I have actually got 2 children and I'm going to be doing another video on that whole story and how to tell my parents that I was pregnant again, and telling them, not telling them, but with my second I was actually induced. So that's another birthing story and that will be on the next video. So today I want to try and keep it a bit quick, simple, you know, just kind of major details. Obviously I'm not going to go through it all in like detail, but yes, so I was 16. Yeah, 16. I was 16 and I fell pregnant, and when I fell pregnant, the person that I fell pregnant with, which is my partner now, his name is Sean, we weren't actually together. We were just having a bit of fun, you know. He was my best friend and I'd had like a major crush on him since I was in like, well, years before. And I had a major crush on him and we were just messing about. To be honest, back then he was probably just using it as like, you know, getting his way and stuff. So I fell pregnant, and how I told him was we was on our way to college and I decided that day that I was gonna skip my college because obviously I had some big news to tell him. And he was actually the first person I told just because he was my best friend. So I skipped my college and we went straight to his on the bus, and I sat completely, so like you've got the back seat, haven't you, which is all just one seat, and we were sat next to each other, and then I kind of moved all the way to the other side of the thingy, so he was sat on one window and I was sat on the other window. And I just texted him and I looked at him and he didn't reply. Then we all got off the bus and he didn't speak to me, and then he went into his college and he actually had an exam that day. He did fail, probably my fault. But yeah, and then he came out and he said like, am I really, and stuff, and I said yeah, showed him the pregnancy test, and that was that. He found out. We then told his best friend Jordan, who we don't talk to anymore, just, you know, people drift apart, but he was the best friend at the time, and we told him, and then he told a couple people, and like the news was out, really, everybody found out, friend wise, and then I told my mum first. I can't really remember how I told my mum. I think I just went into the lounge while she was in there and I told her. I think she was really annoyed at first, obviously. I think any parent is going to be rather annoyed if you turn up to be 16 and pregnant. I think that any parent is going to be annoyed at first. But then in the end, I think that she did get quite not happy about it. I think that she's even to this day, she says that I ruined my life. Ruined my young years of my life, you know, so I can't go out and do all the other things that are, I'm 19 now, so I can't go out and do all the things that a 19-year-old would do. Not that I can go out and do it anyway because of the coronavirus. But she had actually had a baby, and that baby, she was only a year old. Her name was Ivy. She's my sister. Go and check out the rest of my videos because I did my sister's makeup, and go and watch that video because it's fun. So yeah, so she had her baby, and then I was gonna come. I think that she was quite happy that she was gonna have a friend for her baby, my sister. And then obviously it came down to telling my dad. So my mum and dad aren't together, which is why I've obviously told them separately. And my dad, I had never really been to his before on my own. So he has got 2 children of his, like my half brother and sister, with his wife, and I had never been to his house without them being there. But this time I had managed to get round there without anybody else being there. We had a lovely evening together. And then when I went to bed, he always used to obviously come up and say goodnight and stuff. And even when I was 16, he used to come up and say goodnight. Because I only ever went round there every other weekend. I think it was just, you know, he liked doing it. And then when he was leaving the room, I just said, you know, I started crying a little bit. And I said, Dad, I've got something to tell you. And he was like, go on then, what is it? And I said, I'm pregnant. And he looked at me, he had a bit of a chuckle, and then he walked away. So, you know, and then I just went to sleep, and then the next morning he just said that he always knew, you know, he always knew that I was going to be pregnant at a young age. Don't know, I suppose it's like people can tell when their kids are gay. I don't know, he always just knew. So yeah, so that happened, and then, so that was at the beginning. Nothing really happened for quite a while. It was just a normal pregnancy. Telling my nan was hard. She was extremely mad. My nan is like a second mum, and she was so mad. But other than that, time went on, and then Sean, my partner, he actually, well, I found out through Jordan, the friend, that his best friend, he was my friend too. I found out that Sean was actually cheating on me, and we broke up for a bit, and then we didn't actually get back together until Lexi was born. Lexi is obviously my child that I was pregnant with. Yeah, we didn't actually get back together until Lexi was born. And so the birthing part of this video, we'll move on to. So I went... So with pregnancy, or for me anyway, the baby was quite low and pushing on my bladder a lot. So I did actually have a few accidents in the bladder region. And there was one night where I was just sleeping, laying on my back, or maybe I wasn't laying on my back, I don't know, I was just sleeping. And I had actually had an accident, and at this point I was having some like Braxton Hicks, which are fake contractions. Like, they'll feel like contractions, but it's just really your body getting ready for the real thing. And I was having some Braxton Hicks, and this was 3 days before my waters broke. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I rang Sean up because obviously I had an accident and I just assumed that it was my waters breaking. So I rang him up, and I was ringing him and he wasn't answering, and I had to ring his mum because obviously we were both living with our parents. And then she had to wake him up, and he had to come round at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and you know, and I figured out, well, actually in the morning, we called a midwife, and she come around to do a test to see if it was my waters breaking, because they can tell with they do like a swabby thing, and they put it in the tube, and it comes back to tell you whether it's got a certain type of hormone or something in the water, which is the waters that come out. And she figured out that it wasn't actually my waters breaking, and so that was that. But then after that, Sean stayed at mum's with me until I went into labour. So about a day later, or 2 days later, I started getting, well, what I thought was Braxton Hicks, and they weren't. They were just like really mild contractions, really. And that went on for like a day, but I wasn't in established labour, which is what they call it once your waters break. So I couldn't go into hospital or anything, like, well, maternity ward. I couldn't go there or anything because I wasn't in established labour. I was just having pains, just having contractions. So we were doing everything to try and get my waters to break, you know, as you do. Eat hot food and all that kind of stuff, bounce on a ball, doing the baby dance. If you Google that, I'm sure you'll find it, YouTube it. I was doing all of that kind of stuff. And in the end, what actually made my waters go was we had a huge takeaway. We decided that we'd had enough, we need a takeaway, so we got a takeaway, and I was munching it, and you know when you just stuff yourself silly, like well full, and like you're so full, you have to lean back to give your belly some room. Well, as I leant back, my waters broke all over the sofa, all over the food. Everybody had to stop eating. And when your waters break, you can actually hear it. It's really, really weird, but it's really cool at the same time. But as soon as my waters broke, my contractions just instantly got 10 times worse. And I was literally like crying on my way to hospital. And then when we got to hospital, it was, I don't know what it was really, because I wouldn't say it was the pain. Like, you know, when you're so in so much pain, you'd be sick, but I don't really think it was that. But I did throw up outside the hospital whilst I was waiting for them to let me in, because it was night time and they have to like let you in and stuff. So I was actually sick outside whilst I was waiting. And then when we got in, I think I was sick again, you know, one of those funny little hat things. And then she measured me. I think that she measured me at about 4 or 5 centimetres, dilated. And she left the room. Well, I was in hospital for an hour and a half before Lexi was delivered. So she left the room, and to me it felt like she was out for like 10 minutes. But she must have been gone for a little bit longer, like an hour or so. Maybe not an hour. I suppose you're pushing for quite a while. I don't really know. It was all just one big blur, really. But I was in the hospital, and so when you're in there, you can get into any position you want. And I was just laying on my back and all of that. And I decided that I wanted a epidural, which is a numbing stuff that they actually put into your spine, which kind of numbs you from the waist down. It's what they usually give you for cesareans and things like that, but you can have it during normal labour as well. So I decided that I wanted that. So Mum went and got the midwife. She came back, she checked me, and she said, nope, you can't have it. You're 8 centimetres and it's too far along for you to have it now. And I said, oh, okay. And I didn't like gas and air, so I didn't have any gas and air. So I didn't actually have anything pain relief stuff, because gas and air made me feel like I wasn't in control. And I couldn't have the epidural, and I couldn't have anything else because I was too dilated. So in the end, I got onto all fours because I thought it might help me, like on the bed, like kind of leaning up against the back of the bed, because I thought it might help me. And then I told my mum, because when you're in labour, you kind of just like, it's like with a contraction, you then get the urge to push. Like, it's not like, you know, when you see one born every minute or whatever, and they say, push now, push now, push now. Right, like when you're actually like ready to push, when you're in labour and you're at the point of pushing, you can't help but push. Like, your body just does it for you. Like, you have to push. You cannot not push. So I was telling my mum, I was like, I need to push. And she was like, no, you can't need to push. You're only 8 centimetres, blah, blah, blah. So she went and got the midwife, and the midwife came in and she was like, no, you can't need to push. And I'm there screaming, I need to push, and all of that kind of jazz. So she said, okay, turn over, or I'll re-examine you. And they re-examined me, and they're like shocked that I magically went up to 10 centimetres in like the 5 minutes that she had left. And I was ready to push, and I pushed, and out came the baby. I'm gonna have to tell you that the most painful part of labour, to me personally, could be different with everybody, but it isn't actually the contractions. It's actually what they call ring sting, or what I call ring sting. It's when the baby comes out, and you know when you get a Chinese burn on your arm, that's what it feels like all around your little, well, your big hole at that point. When the head's starting to come out, and it's like stinging and burning so bad. That's the most painful bit to me. But then she came out, Sean, my partner, cut the umbilical cord, and they had a bit of trouble getting my placenta out, because after you've had the baby, apparently you're meant to have a contraction after, which is meant to bring the placenta out. But I never had that contraction. so they kind of had to give me an injection in my leg. I don't really know what it did. If you can hear my daughter, my partner is with her. Yeah, so they had to kind of pull it out, but they have to do it quite slowly, because if they pull it too hard, the umbilical cord, because it's what attaches is what is attached to the umbilical cord, if they pull it too hard, it might break, and then the placenta would just be stuck in you. So yeah, then Lexi had come, and we got sent home quite quickly, which was really a big surprise. Like, I think we got sent home 4 hours after she was born. And then that was about it. You know, me and Sean got back together about two-ish weeks after Lexi was born, and now we're in our own flat. So yeah, so that is the end of my pregnancy story, I suppose. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you turn the notification bell on, because I will be posting another one on my second daughter, and I was induced, so it's a bit more interesting. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you next time. Bye.